Welcome to the show, Kalpesh. It's so great to have you on.
Thank you. And likewise, thanks a lot for inviting me. I think looking forward to, interacting with you.
Chocolate is, I think, my biggest weakness. And so I'm personally very, very excited to, delve into the world of chocolate with you. And I have to say, you definitely have one of the most enviable jobs in the world. I've heard you carry samples with you everywhere you go. And, I also understand that joined Mars Wrigley back in Jan 2020, if I'm not mistaken, which is when you became the country general manager. So, of course, that's just before the world went all topsy turvy. So, how on earth did you navigate those times and, take us through that time for you?
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, Gauri. Firstly, as I said, going through your journey and all the interesting things what you do. Yeah. Food and travel both are very close to my heart. So, looking forward to continue the interaction with you and learn more from you. Yeah. Excellent. Yeah. So again, firstly, yes, it's a great job. I'm paid to sell chocolates. And the beauty about the chocolate category is that whenever you interact with anybody, you say that, not just giving them the sample, but just telling them that you sell Snickers, for a living, and it brings a smile on people's face. So what a lovely job. You're spreading happiness every day, right? Yeah. So I am a Bombayite. So I'm Indian. I returned to India after probably 15 years in Middle East, Turkey, Africa, Southeast Asia, North Asia. Yeah, so we as a family lived in Dubai, Nigeria, Turkey, and Singapore. And I was doing the South Korea role from Korea. And then, I'm thoroughly impressed with the way our country is shaping up. Yeah, while we are, I think, sometimes a bit more critical of ourselves, but having seen talent across the world, I think it's time that we should be wearing more pride about our talent, about ourselves. So that's one big realization. Yeah, so a lot has changed in the last. I left in 2005 and back in 2020. A lot has changed for the good. Yeah. In 2020 when I came in, it was all nice, but then the pandemic strike. I think the pandemic helped businesses across sectors, become more resilient, become more responsible towards the associates, towards the community, and towards their business strength, business profile. So many companies have transformed well. I think we've transformed very well during COVID in terms of manufacturing practices which are more agile, looking at channel practices which are unique, how we can start lines remotely, not having the OEM in our factory, but using remote camera technologies to start up lines. So a lot of interesting things have happened across. Yeah. Again, Mars is a 5 principle based business. So that defines how we operate. Yeah, we don't call our colleagues as employees, but we are all associates. So we have an equal voice at work. We want to treat each other the way we will like to treat ourselves. So it's a fantastic privately held organization. Of course, to your question, when we moved to India, it was tough. Yeah, for the family, it was tough because settling into a new country, more or less new country for the family, for the kids. Of course, Parul and me knew India well. Yeah, but again, it also brings the whole family together during lockdown. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, please go on.
sorry, I was just saying that, speaking a little bit more about the impact of the pandemic, you're absolutely right. I think businesses just became more agile and focused. But one thing that I noticed being in the food business was that, health also became a key focus for a lot of people, right? And, how did that part of it impact your business? Did you see any impact from that?
So we saw a lot of positive impact because uh, the reality was that we are snacking at home, out of home. But then that snacking culture increased at home because now we are not spending time traveling, or yes, the meetings increased, but then we all were working harder because of the crisis we were in. So we wanted those small moments
Treats.
of happiness, indulgence, a bit of impulse snacking at home, So that actually helped our business post wave one. Wave one was very difficult on the business. Yeah, because we were not essential categories. So we were not able to deliver to retailers. But the factories were very resilient. We started production very quickly. And then we saw very good demand, firstly, in packaged foods across our categories, because a lot of supplies from other players were not available. So we could send our people. We took risk, and I'm very proud of my associates because, they were living with their family, but they left home and they were in the marketplace. So there was a lot of personal purpose around restarting the business post wave one. Yeah. So we were able to supply, we had the right portfolio, it's not just chocolates, it's nut-based chocolates or caramel-based chocolates or nougat chocolates, or Twix has a biscuit inside, Bounty has coconut inside. So it was a chocolate plus plus. That's what gave us that benefit to, have a place in the consumer's fridge, heart, and, their experience during the pandemic. And that helped us manage the business very well, and very good growth since then for the last 8 quarters. To your question, yes, there is a focus on health and wellness in India, and I'm very proud. We as a company focus on health and wellness. We have stepathons. We do a lot of activities where we have a step challenge, etc. And from a consumer mindset perspective, we have our consumption of chocolate is very, very minimal. Yeah, 150 grams per person per annum. But then during COVID, me as a consumer feels more comfortable having packaged sweets or chocolates compared to buying things from trade, in a mithai shop. So I think that also partly helped us, because we all wanted to have a bit of indulgence. That's why we say we are not Mars Wrigley is not a food company, we are a treat company. We are a treat and snacking. It's a small portion, and we talk about some responsible portions in many of our bags. A shared bag is 120 calories plus minus, or a bar is 220 calories. So we define all these things on our bag so that the consumer can make a responsible choice. Yeah, it's definitely not food, it's a treat.
Yeah. No, and you're absolutely right. I've also always thought of the chocolates as being an impulse buy. So I was interested to know which retail channel works best for Mars. Is it the is it offline or online? And considering a lot of offline was closed during during the peak of the lockdown, so is and of course duty free, right? So airports were closed. It's your go-to indulgence when you're in duty free to pick up those bite-sized packets of chocolate. So with all of that closed, how did the sort of channel mix change for you?
Yeah, so I think yes, the airport or the railways or the offices or the travel destinations, travel routes were the last to open up. But then it's not a big size of our business.
Right.
So we saw, because people didn't want to make long trips during COVID. So the local traditional trade store, grocery, kirana stores were the first to benefit. Then we realized that digital also, in e-commerce, there was a lot of benefits of ordering things what might not be available in my neighborhood kirana store. So we saw traditional trade recovery, urban and rural. Yeah, I'm very proud that my team had started the rural coverage agenda 3-4 years ago, and that's come to help us during COVID. So traditional trade, grocery, rural, urban, both did well. Then e-commerce did very well. Yeah, we were rightfully, we invested long before COVID on the e-commerce channel across sales and marketing and supply chain. So that helped us grab that opportunity. and that opportunity is there forever. And if you look at the modern trade, the hypermarket, supermarkets, that also took some time to recover because the guidelines from the local governments were such where you could not have more than certain number of people in a certain size of store. So that took some time. But because of the pandemic, we could have the right mindset in our business across functions. That's what has helped us to grab so many of these opportunities.
So, it's interesting. And of course, the digital space took off for everyone, including us, with delivery, obviously with our, our restaurants shifting to a delivery format. But interestingly, I was actually in the US over the summer. And one thing I noticed was that the retail part of the business was definitely, not the same as pre-COVID, right? So physically going to stores and malls, etc. It was just not the same experience as before. But I haven't seen the same sort of impact in India. I feel like, people still like the idea of going to a store. And I wanted to ask you what you feel about the scope for creating a chocolate retail experience in India. You have like your whatever Hershey's store and your M&M world, and I know I'm naming all the other brands, but that's what I'm familiar with. So and now in India you see, like you see a Coco cart in both in the city as well as in the airports and things like that. So it's very interesting to see that investment happening in physical retail for chocolate specifically. So what are your views on that?
So yeah, US is a more developed market from a consumption perspective. So a visit to a hypermarket, is still very mundane. But our country, the lockdowns were more severe, and uh, our experience of shopping in a hypermarket is more about the family entertainment. It's a day out on a weekend, or it's me time uh, for the homemaker. So that's where I think we have a differentiation in terms of the mindset. We are a country where we exchange energy, by meeting people, by visiting the store. So I think that's what helped our, modern trade hypermarket stores get better traffic. Yeah. Compared to developed world where they've been doing that for a long time. So maybe that might be an insight. Apart from that, I think we still want to haggle and look for deals when we are shopping. So going to the local market is part of our lifestyle. So that's and it's not similar in many other countries. So going to, instead of the local market, now we go to hypermarkets,
right,
and we look for deals over there, and we grab those deals across sectors, right? So maybe that's part of our DNA, and hence the recovery has been faster. Yeah.
So, but what about like, creating a retail experience around chocolate specifically? Like, do you think there's scope for that in India?
So we have partnered with the Reliance retail team, and they opened a fantastic store called Fresh Pick in Bombay.
Right.
Yeah, and we have an M&M experience store inside that store. We've got some very good results where we are having a M&M experience now in India, and we are learning from that retail store. It's a premium supermarket opened by the Reliance retail team, and they invited us to have an M&M retail store over there. The initial numbers are very exciting, so we are constantly looking at how do we make it bigger scale in future, because chocolate based experiences is one of the big things in the developed world, and we at the right time want to do more. But India is a land of opportunity, and there are so many opportunities that me and my team wants to prioritize.
Sure. So just coming back to the whole duty-free experience, because, like I said, when I travel, invariably, at least when I'm coming back into the country, I always pick up, bags of chocolate and Mars, Twix, the minis, etc. I think that's something that, a lot of people thinks is synonymous with duty-free shopping, right? Chocolate, and especially a lot of the Mars Wrigley branded chocolates. How do you think Mars captured that market share of the airport shopping experience?
So what we did is that we quickly realized that a lot of our consumers and shoppers like you are unable to travel for the next 2.5 years. So because we 80% of our business is made in India, but 20% is imported. So a lot of things what you buy are actually available in India. But we gave the right offering in the right packaging and the right experience through our alternate channels like travel, yeah, or modern trade or e-commerce, or we launched our marswrigleytreats.com website during pandemic to make sure that we are able to give the same experience to the families who still long for our treats products, but then are unable to travel. So I think we were able to service some of that demand, not whole, because it's still about going there in duty free in Dubai or London or Singapore and then buying so we could not compensate the whole experience, but we did give them the options to buy.
I think what I was sort of driving at was what you mean is about sort of recreating that experience as much as possible during the pandemic for people, in spite of the fact that they couldn't travel. But I think what I'm asking is, how did, Mars Wrigley even establish that sort of habit almost of people buying chocolate every time they go, every time they travel? It's like you said, you can probably get it, in your local store, but there's just this habit of buying chocolate when you travel. I mean, it's just a thing that you do. So how do you think that how did the brand sort of manage to sort of create that habit in a way?
Right. Good question. So firstly, we are new to India. Yeah, we are only under 10 years. So we are more than 100-year-old company.
Oh, okay.
Been selling chocolates for more than 100 years. But in India, we are new. So historically, a lot of our family, friends who are traveling outside India is their only way to know our products. And then we set up the chocolate factory in Pune in 2016. Since then, we are able to localize the offerings a lot more for not only the Indians who travel, but the top 500 million people of India or top billion people of India. Yeah. So that's why maybe culturally our products have been imported.
Right.
But the exponential growth comes in when you are locally available and the local offerings. Yeah. While the top end import buying is an opportunity, but that's not the belly of the India market. It's
Absolutely.
about having the 10 rupee, 20 rupee chocolate available across Kirana stores, the right shared bags, large packs available in modern trade e-commerce. That's where you get to a scale business, and that's the journey we are on.
Of course.
Yeah. So maybe that's the insight, but I think because why you would only buy a pack of Snickers in the duty free, because if you open that pack, you will see a layer of caramel, you will see a layer of nougat, you will see peanut, you will see chocolate. Yeah. That unique experience what a Snickers offers. Yeah. Not many brands have been able to match that offering. And that's why every time you buy, you get that fulfillment. No, this is the best quality. And that's one of our principles. Yeah. Quality is one of our principles, which we will never compromise. The same recipe is available in the developed world and in India. So because the quality is consistent over so many decades, that's why when you and I travel outside India, we'll say, I want to, buy that product in the duty free.
Sure, it's that familiarity for sure. Recently I read in the news how Mars Wrigley is planning to penetrate the rural markets by introducing a 1 rupee chocolate. Firstly, how on earth does that go with, how do you actually manage that from a cost efficiency and, profit margins? But also, how does that go with the brand positioning, of a premium chocolate brand?
I think what we said in the past is opening price point chocolates, which is more in the range of 10 rupee plus minus. 1 rupee is where we sell the gum and mints. So Boomer is sold at 1 rupee. A lot of mints are sold at 1 rupee. But when it comes to chocolate, 40-50% of the category sits at 10-20 rupee pricing. And we are trying to launch more products in that price range. So we have Snickers at 10 rupee, we have M&M at 10 rupee. Now we have Galaxy and variants at 10 rupee. I must say that Galaxy is the best quality chocolate at the rupees 10 price point in the Indian market right now. Yeah. While there are offerings from other players also, but this is one of the best quality what's available at 10 rupees. So if we are able to consistently keep the 10 rupee experience growing, distributed in urban and rural, then that's one of the big opportunities. And in gum and mints and candies, 1 rupee is the key price point. Apart from premiumizing the 5 rupee, 10 rupee, 20, 50, 100 rupee products in gum and mints. So these are the two key price points, 10, 20 in chocolate and 1 rupee, 5 rupee in gum and mints.
Interesting. So you touched upon production now happening with your unit in Pune, and so manufacturing is actually happening here. How do you ensure, and you also talked about that familiarity of flavor that people want. They, it's a particular taste that they want to kind of, that they're familiar with. So how do you ensure that quality and flavor remain standardized across the world? I mean, doesn't the local water, milk, etc., all have an impact on production?
So there's a very large sourcing team globally, right from buying the right quality of cocoa. Yeah. And Mars has invested a lot in getting the right quality of cocoa, and not only quality, but also doing the responsible buying from the right sources where there's no exploitation in the whole value chain. Then we have a large team who looks at sugar, peanut, or all the other ingredients, including milk. There's a very clear specification about what kind of peanut we will buy. Yeah. What is the quality of that milk? Yeah. So, and of course, the whole production process is the line is same, whether it be India or New York. Yeah, it's the same line on which we'll make. The quality standards are very well controlled. So it is not dependent on me or my supply team in India is how they will make. The global guardrails are very strong. So hence, the quality principle is fully in place. Yeah, the processes are standardized. Not anybody can change the process, and hence you get that experience. And which is a big strength of our brands, because that's what brings the consumer every time back to us and then ask for our brands.
Sure. So, Kalpesh, I'm sure you've seen the exponential growth of Indian chocolate artisanal brands as well. That's happened in the last few years. And very recently, I was actually talking to one of the Indian chocolate makers about her experience of sourcing, from sort of cocoa beans from India and around the world. What are your views on this sort of sudden burst of local artisanal chocolate brands in India?
Yeah, I think you should name this podcast Chocolate Pe Charcha. Yeah. And I'm very proud of a lot of these entrepreneurs who are experimenting. Yeah, and I meet them in these flea markets across India, in Gurgaon, Delhi. And yeah, they're doing a fantastic job. Yeah. Of course, they're inspired by a brand like us, all the other players in the Indian market. And the scale remains a challenge for them, because they are virtually selling it 2 to 3 times of large manufacturers. So that's where, for them to have an inflection point, because we are still a cost conscious, price conscious country. So how do we get that 250, 300 rupees chocolate bar to 100, 120 rupees? Because that's the experience, 150. Anything about 200, the premium shopper also is a bit cautious. So it has to be smaller packs, better pricing for them to get scale. Yeah.
Sure. I mean, it's definitely a niche product for sure.
Yeah.
Today you see a lot of trends coming in, especially when we talk about food technology, right? So what's your take on that, and what are some of the trends that you foresee in the future?
So I did visit the Anuga fair, which is a large food fair in Germany last year. And I think one of the big trends, what I saw over there was plant-based foods. Yeah, plant-based meat was one of the most crowded section
It's also one of the
in
most
Cologne.
controversial ones right now.
Yeah, it is controversial, but I saw a lot of footfall in that area.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was the most buzzing area in the whole exhibition. So there's a lot of trials happening. Yeah, and I see that I remain positive about the food tech in that sector. I think when it comes to snacking, you will see a lot of new product experiences coming in, and you mentioned some what are niche. Yeah, but again, for emerging markets or India, yeah, it's about giving that unique chocolate experience what many brands in the category offer at a scale, at a right price point. Yeah,
Masses.
and then of course channels like quick commerce etc will help us, because sometimes you got out of stock and you want to indulge into a chocolate, or you want a pack of gum, chewing gum before you go out somewhere. So then quick commerce brands like Blinkit and all are delivering things in 10, 12, 13 minutes. So that's another area where tech is coming in. We do a lot of use a lot of tech in our customer engagement. So when my sales force goes out to sell, now that we have data of what we are selling to the outlets across channels for the last 2, 3, 4 years, we're able to actually guide the retailer with a lot more information and why she should buy these products and why in this quantity and not more or less.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, she will be out of stock. You know, so there's tech happening in that area. Plus, we have globally uh, a food tech team where we are trying to learn more, mostly on the in the developed world right now. But in future, we will see what else we should learn from the global team, which is relevant to India. Right now, it's about doing the basics well, selling, distribution the right, activating the digital marketing and the traditional platforms of communication. So yeah, it's FMCG is doing the same boring thing consistently.
Absolutely, and I think it's very similar for us as well in the F&B world. With using data now that we probably didn't, use efficiently enough previously, and just distribution, etc. So we're all suddenly having to become a little more tech savvy than we have been in the past. You mentioned something interesting earlier, and I sort of it stuck with me. You mentioned, your associates having a personal purpose and going that extra mile during a challenging time. So I believe you've also been tagged as the chief energy officer of the company. So take us through how you built that culture, or how that culture exists in Mars Wrigley, where people are able to really believe in what they're doing, and be aligned with the vision of the company, and how you go about creating this positive environment at the workplace.
Yeah, so my leadership journey is that finally it is someone's son, somebody's daughter, somebody's wife, somebody's mother who works for me as a colleague. So how do I give them that positive energy every day? Yeah, or during COVID, I would do I would do calls with my team, and not all of us are in a habit of using the headphones. So the family would listen to our conversation. So I realized that, oh, my team member is talking to me right now, and her son is listening to my chat. His wife is listening to my discussion. So what is the message they are going to take from this chat? So I became a bit more conscious that this is not just a colleague coming to office, but this is someone's some family member, and that person is somebody's father, husband, kid. So I became a lot more responsible about how I conduct myself, and then that continues now in office, where since we are a chocolate company, we sell happiness for a living. How do we keep that mood positive? Yeah, how do we drive performance by really showing that uh, authentic care for themselves, for their development, and for their well-being, and then they give you the best, and that's what is our experience so far.
So tell us some of the best practices that you would kind of advise a smaller organization that really wants to create a culture? I mean, I've been through that with ours. We're a 12-year-old company, but I don't think we ever really defined our culture. We were just sort of, going along, and it was people who were, somewhat like-minded in values that, fit in. But we also felt the need to actually define it, like you mentioned, the principles behind you, etc. So, how, I mean, in all your years of experience of being a leader, how would you, what would you advise some of the best practices to be?
So firstly, 85-90% of people in most of the functions at a senior level who come into Mars are welcomed by me. So if a sales officer in Nagpur is joining us, yeah, before joining, I would get on a 10-minute chat with the person. Yeah. So by doing that, I do two things. I'm having a good control of the quality of people coming in, because for the culture for me to allow my team to, for me to allow them to be empowered, I need the right people. Mm-hmm. So my focus is on getting the right people in the team. And then you manage the business by inspiring them, by supporting them, especially when things go wrong. Yeah. Showing them that belief. Yeah. And then we need to have a lot of fun at work. Yeah. So that we all come together as friends. Mars is a family business. So we are all part of the larger Mars family ecosystem. So how do we, support each other and then help them when they need help? Yeah. But be a coach rather than a manager. Yeah. Sometimes let them make mistakes. Yeah. See them make mistakes, and then it's very difficult, but then how do I keep quiet and let them falter? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that they learn from these mistakes. Of course, not costly mistakes, but manageable, affordable mistakes. Yeah. So that's how the culture is evolved. Of course, not sitting in boardroom, but how do we sit more in the open office? We have an open office. Nobody has cubicles. I sit at the similar desk to any of the colleagues. So how am I approachable? So I do something which is my favorite word, is management by wandering around. So I go around office and talk to anybody and everybody. Yeah, I spend time with them. Sometimes, of course, if I want to get something done with colleagues, so I will go to their desk and say, what happened about this? How are we? Is there any update on this? But it's mostly about just giving them that positive energy at work, and checking in on them, checking in on some of the issues if they had some personal issues, and I'm aware of that. Yeah, just spending those 3 to 5 minutes. That's the beauty about going back to office, because I can interact with 15 people in 1 hour, while I'm in office. During pandemic on Teams, it was very difficult.
Of course. Well, the whole work from home debate is a whole different thing. But, you mentioned coaches, and, what has been the role of mentors in your professional journey? And, how do you use that experience in being a mentor yourself?
So I go back to my personal board of directors very often. This includes some of my ex-bosses, some of my colleagues at work today, and some of my very close friends, and I keep updating them. Oh, this is what is happening right now. This is my plan. And then I go to them with some tough questions, what I'm facing, and then seek their guidance. Yeah. I think two of my favorite words in the during pandemic has been being vulnerable and being humble. Yeah. So vulnerability, not only with my personal board of directors, but with my leadership team. Yeah. They know I'm super vulnerable. I think they know what are my strengths, what are my areas of opportunity. And I bank on them on areas where I'm not good at. And they know that I'm a simple person, and I will bank a lot on them to manage the business. That makes them sharper, stronger, builds a new muscle into them, and then they progress in their career then.
I love the idea of a personal board of directors. I haven't heard that before, but that's very apt. I'm going to take a quick break before we enter the last segment of the show, so stay on.
Hello. It's been another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. On Paisa Vaisa, Anupam talks to Rajiv Shastri. He's the director and CEO of NJ Mutual Funds, and they discuss direct versus regular investing and its risks and rewards. On the Filter Coffee podcast, Karthik talks to Pallavi Agarwal, founder and CEO of Go Stops, about hostel culture in India. On Smarter with Sid, Siddharth elaborates on the benefits of learning a new language. On Cock and Bull, Cyrus, Sriram, Naveen and Kajal commemorate Pluto Demotion Day by deciphering some cosmic trivia. And on The Wire Talk, Siddharth talks to Seema Chishti about her book, Sumitra and her niece, Tales and Recipes from a Khichdi Family. Hey everybody, as you know, we've been beating the horse for merchandise and you should go and get it now before we refresh our collections. And what's there right now won't be available forever. So go get it now. You can go to ivmpodcast.com, go click on the store link, and you'll be able to find the store, or go to beyondfollow.com/IVM and you can go directly over there and pick up the merchandise. Also, remember, if you're following this show or any of our other shows for that matter, please do tell a friend. Social media helps, but not as much of word of mouth. But if you're a social media fellow, then go to our IVM podcast handle on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn and follow us there. Also, please do remember to check out all of our different YouTube channels. We have a ton of them now. You can go to ivmpodcast.com/YouTube where we maintain a list of all of these channels. And finally, we'd like to thank our sponsors for this week: TransUnion Civil, Boat Lifestyle, Checkpoint Software, Small Case, and Intel vPro. Thank you so much for making this possible.
Welcome back. So let's move away from business and talk about all the things that we clearly have in common, which is let's start with food. Kalpesh, tell me, what's your go-to comfort food?
I have comfort food by state in India or by country. So that can be a different podcast. What both of us
That's
can
a whole
do in
podcast
future.
altogether.
Yeah. No, my favorite cuisine is the Bombay cuisine. So any food what you find in Bombay, be it the roadside snacking or going into my favorite restaurants, more on the non-veg side, and anywhere in India, my team knows that this is Kalpesh's top 1 or 2 restaurants, and if I'm traveling there, they know that I will take them there. So yeah, we bond over food as a team. Most of my colleagues across functions, they bond with me over food. I'm not much of a liquor fan, but it's more on the food side. So yeah, biryani, a well-made biryani, a Bombay style biryani is my go-to food. But of course, I cannot afford to have it every day. But yeah, once a week or once a fortnight, I would try that. Seafood, is another comfort food.
Great.
Otherwise, it's salad. I balance it with a lot of salad.
I don't know about how much comfort salad brings, but yes, we need a good salad in our lives.
Yeah, when you have a lot of meat for a few meals, then you like salad because you need that balance.
Absolutely, that's welcome to my world where I'm surrounded by food and I constantly have to be mindful of finding balance. What's a great book you've read or a podcast you've heard in the recent past that you can
I'm on podcast. One of my favorite podcasts is The Look and Sound of Leadership. So Tom Henschel is an American actor, stage actor. And then since 2008, he's been running the podcast. He does one podcast a month. And I always tell my colleagues and friends that if you listen to his podcast, it's as good as having a live coach, because his podcasts are about experiences at work. So you have a conflict with a colleague. How do you resolve that conflict? You are nervous when you're presenting or preparing for big meetings. There's a podcast around that, So there are, and he gives most of the podcast, he gives a story about that incident at work, and then he works on a solution. So, when I'm running or cycling, I listen to these podcasts. So yeah, it's during the tough times in my career, I have gone back to these podcasts and I felt like, wow, Tom has been my coach. Wow. And in terms of book, I'm currently reading this book, The Mind of a Leader. It builds a lot of emphasis on collaboration, empathy, being mindful about people around you, surroundings, and how you react in tough situations. So it's a fantastic book. In fact, I've gone back to reading it. I've read it 4 or 5 years ago and I'm reading it again.
Very interesting. I'm going to look up both of those. What's a productivity tool you rely on?
So I start at least 6-7 days in a week with a lot of exercise. So that energizes me at work, and my team can clearly say, "Oh, today he runs 5-7 kilometers and come because he's oozing with energy," you know. So that starts my day well, and I get a lot of energy from there, and like I'm like all charged up to come to work. Yeah. So my productivity tool is exercising. Apart from that, yeah, it's your iPhone is your strength, but it's also your weakness. So that can be one of the things. Not a productivity tool, but a life tool is my Fitbit watch. Yeah, I always tell people that we have so much data about our business or about our work performance or our PNL, but we don't have any data about our health. Yeah, so I am a big fan of Fitbit, where it shows data about how many steps I have done, what's my resting heart rate, the quality of sleep I have done, and it gives you some rating in terms of, what's your uh, uh, what's your exercise level and what level are you in. So it's like a nice sweet competition you have every day, and that makes you a better and healthy person, right? So
No, I completely resonate with you on the impact of starting your day with exercise. Um, what's the best investment you've made in your journey?
I think in terms of best investment, I think my network. Yeah, I network without the need to network. Today I am with you, and I want to be in touch with you because I saw some common interests. But then I want to be in touch with you. I want to exchange that positive energy, some common interest what we have, and that network. Tomorrow, some of my friends may need something from Gauri, or Gauri may need something from a chef who's my friend. And yeah, so and I'm very proud that, having traveled many countries, I have this kind of authentic network in many countries. Yeah, and it's not about being in touch with them every quarter, every year,
Sure.
but that authentic moment what you spend with them can be with you for life. So I think my biggest investment is investing on my relationships, yeah, across the world, and then being available for them when they reach out to you.
Absolutely. As they say, right, your network is your net worth, and
Yeah.
I'm definitely gonna tap into your network of chefs and food people in your life. Uh, Look, before I let you go, I have to ask, what's your definition of success?
So success for me is that I should be able to run a marathon with my grandkids.
Wow, wow.
Yeah. So I need to be healthy, and I should be able to travel to a place wherever my grandkids are in the whole world. Yeah. So that's success for me, that I'm able to, run maybe faster than them. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Kalpesh, for being on the show, and I wish you the very, very best.